Penn State has an incredibly bright future even with the Rose Bowl loss. The 2017 Rose Bowl was an instant classic, the kind of game that sends Twitter ablaze for 4 hours and makes fans all over the country question whether the playoff committee got the final 4 teams right. It's also the kind of game that will be remembered for a long time by anyone who watched it, either in person at the Rose Bowl or on TV. And like any instant classic, the focus following the game is of course on USC, after kicker Matt Boermeester's field goal as time expired gave the Trojans a wild, 52-49, last-second win. With the win, everything is about the big picture at USC. The conversations will now center on the Trojans being back and their place as a potential preseason top 5 team in 2017. They will also focus on quarterback Sam Darnold, who will likely enter next season as a prime Heisman contender right alongside Louisville's Lamar Jackson. But while the spotlight is currently on USC, Monday's final result shouldn't take away from everything Penn State accomplished both in the Rose Bowl and the season as a whole. The Nittany Lions too overcame long odds just to get to Pasadena, even if they didn't win it, and they too had a couple breakout stars Monday night, in quarterback Trace McSorely and running back Saquon Barkley. And with a big chunk of its roster returning, it's also safe to say that Penn State is back. Even in a loss, this team isn't a one-year wonder, but is built for the long haul and could very well be competing for a national championship in January 2018. Granted, it might not be what Penn State fans want to hear this moment. But when they wake up Tuesday and shake off the Rose Bowl loss, they'll realize what a special season this team had. And frankly, that's probably how Penn State should be viewed right now, not through the prism of one game, but the season as a whole. It wasn't all that long ago that the Nittany Lions were sitting at 2-2, fresh off a horrid 39-point loss at Michigan. And it was at that time that some were stupidly calling for James Franklin to be fired, and wondering aloud if he could possibly compete with Urban Meyer and Jim Harbaugh over the long term in the Big Ten. Obviously those questions are no longer in play, as over the final 2 months of the season, there wasn't a single team, outside of Alabama, that was hotter than Penn State. They won 9 in a row to close the year, most emphatically with a stunning victory over then number 2 Ohio State that was then followed up several weeks later by a Big Ten title game win over Wisconsin. Following that victory over the Badgers, some, myself included, thought the Nittany Lions should have been in the college football playoff, and if they had gotten there would have been the proverbial team no one wanted to face. Instead the Nittany Lions ended up in the Rose Bowl. And while the rest of the Big Ten had a bowl season to forget, they proved they could play with college football's best teams. Against USC, the Nittany Lions finished the game 465 yards, over 100 yards more than the Trojans gave up on average this season, and tallied 49 points against a team which hasn't given up even 30 since September. Like Darnold, McSorely and Barkley proved that they will enter the 2017 season as Heisman candidates. Had it not been for a few dumb mistakes down the stretch, the Lions would have won Monday's game. And speaking of McSorely and Barkley, they're the main reason why there will be so much optimism around Penn State entering 2017. McSorely is coming off a season where he threw for 29 touchdown passes, including 4 apiece in the Nittany Lions' final 3 games, and proved to be a dynamic, dual-threat monster against the Trojans. Barkley, meanwhile, had a second straight 1,000-yard season in 2016, on his way to all Big Ten first-team honors. Top receiver Chris Godwin could return too, as does a big chunk of the defense, led by Garrett Sickles and linebackers Manny Bowen and Jason Cabinda. Add it up and there's every reason to believe that the Nittany Lions will also enter 2017 in the preseason top 5. The usual landmines await, but with Michigan losing a big chunk of its roster to graduation, and Ohio State losing a handful of guys too, including All-American safety Malik Hooker, who declared for the NFL draft Monday, the Nittany Lions might be even better equipped to handle them next year than they were in 2016. So yeah, the future is bright for Penn State. While the Rose Bowl loss may sting, this program is built for the long haul. Aaron Torres covers college football for Fox Sports. Follow him on Twitter at Aaron_Torres, Facebook or atorzo@gmail.com.